Welcome to the deep dive. You know, today we're going to look at something that could change. Well, I mean everything. AGI.
Artificial General Intelligence.
That's right. And guess what? It's not some like distant sci-fi concept. It's
right around the corner.
yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
So we're basing this deep dive on this document called Situational Awareness.
Right.
By Leopold Aschenbrenner.
Yes, and he's a former OpenAI employee who's been really deeply involved in AI research. And you know what he's saying? He's saying that AGI is coming way sooner than most people realize.
Yeah, so get this.
Okay.
Aschenbrenner believes that like only a handful of people truly understand the scale of what's about to happen.
Yeah, it's really a small group.
So consider this your inside track to understanding the future, because we're going to unpack it all for you.
For sure.
So the first thing to really grasp is how quickly AI is advancing. I mean, remember how mind-blowing GPT-4 was when it came out?
Oh, yeah.
Even the experts were surprised.
Even the they were caught off guard.
Right? So if they didn't see it coming, what hope do the rest of us have?
Exactly, and that's why
understanding this concept of orders of magnitude, or ooms, is just so important.
So an ohm is basically a tenfold increase.
Oh, yeah.
Each O in AI development represents this massive leap forward in capability.
Got it.
Think about the jump from GPT-2 to GPT-4 in just a few years.
It's like going from a toddler learning to talk to like a teenager who can ace their SATs.
Yeah, that's a great analogy.
That's the kind of exponential progress that we're talking about.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so that progress is fueled by three key factors.
Okay.
Compute algorithms and what Aschenbrenner calls unhobbling.
Right.
Okay, so compute simply means bigger, more powerful computers.
More powerful computers, yep.
Talking about data centers filled with GPUs.
Yeah.
Those specialized processors that are perfect for AI costing billions, even trillions of dollars.
Trillions, yeah.
That's an insane amount of computing power.
Yeah.
But it's not just about brute force. Right?
Yeah, it's not.
We also need smarter algorithms to make the most of that hardware.
Absolutely. Algorithmic efficiency is like a force multiplier for compute.
Okay.
Just look at how the cost of achieving a certain level of AI accuracy has plummeted in recent years.
Really?
Yeah, we're talking about like 1,000-fold decrease in some cases.
Wow.
It's incredible how many more we can do with the same amount of hardware thanks to these algorithmic improvements.
That's mind-blowing.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
And then there's this unhobbling idea.
Right?
It's like we're taking the training wheels off AI and letting it really stretch its legs.
Exactly. Techniques like reinforcement learning from human feedback, or RLHF, are helping to align AI's behavior with our expectations.
Right.
And by giving AI access to external tools, expanding its context window to process more information and allowing it to think step by step, using chain of thought, we're unlocking capabilities that we could only dream of a few years ago.
So think about it this way. We're on the cusp of a technological revolution, unlike anything we've ever seen.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
I'm excited and honestly a little terrified at the same time.
I think that's a healthy response.
Yeah.
This is powerful stuff.
It really is.
Before we move on, I want to thank everyone for joining us on this deep dive.
Yes.
If you're finding this as fascinating as we are, please hit that subscribe button and share this episode with your friends.
Yes, please do.
It's going to get even more interesting from here.
Oh, you better believe it.
Yeah.
We're just getting started. Stay tuned, because up next, we're going to explore the concept of the intelligence explosion.
Yes.
And that's where things get really wild.
That's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah, buckle up.
Buckle up. Welcome back, listeners. So are you ready? Because we're about to dive into one of the most mind-blowing concepts in AI. The intelligence explosion.
Okay.
It's the idea that AI could soon become so advanced that it can design and improve itself.
Okay.
Leading to this exponential surge in intelligence.
Whoa, hold on. AI designing itself. That sounds like straight out of a science fiction movie.
Right.
I thought we were talking about AGI arriving soon, but this sounds like something even further out there.
Well, that's the thing. It's not as far off as you might think.
Really?
Yeah. Remember all that progress we talked about with GPT and those orders of magnitude? Imagine that on overdrive. We're talking about the possibility of AI research being conducted not by hundreds of brilliant humans, but by millions of AI agents.
Millions?
Millions, yeah.
Okay.
Working nonstop at speeds we can barely comprehend.
Millions of AI researchers. So instead of years or decades of progress, we could see breakthroughs happening on a daily or even hourly basis.
Potentially.
Yeah.
That's kind of terrifying.
It's both terrifying and exhilarating, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like standing on the edge of a technological tsunami.
Okay.
And it all hinges on this idea of AI, automating AI research.
But how realistic is that? I mean, we talked about the data wall problem earlier.
Don't we need massive amounts of data to train these AI models?
Yeah.
And aren't we running out of data to feed them?
That's a valid concern, but researchers are already exploring ways around that limitation.
Okay.
One promising avenue is synthetic data.
Synthetic data.
Yeah, where AI is used to create artificial data sets that are just as effective for training as real-world data. Think about it. AI creating the data it needs to learn and evolve.
Wow, that's like a snake eating its own tail, but in a good way.
Yeah, exactly.
So even with limited real-world data, this intelligence explosion could still happen.
Exactly. And then there's the potential for AI to become incredibly efficient at learning from the data it does have. We're talking about squeezing more knowledge out of every bit of information.
So even if progress slows down a little due to data limitations, the sheer scale of the research effort, with millions of AI agents on the task,
Right.
could still lead to an intelligence explosion.
Precisely. And remember those unhobbling techniques we discussed?
Yeah.
As AI becomes more adept at designing itself, it could discover entirely new ways to enhance its own capabilities. It could unlock hidden potential that we haven't even imagined yet.
I'm trying to wrap my head around what that world would look like. So everything we know about progress, about innovation, would be turned on its head.
It would be a world of constant, accelerating change. Imagine scientific breakthroughs happening not every few years,
Right.
but every few days.
Wow.
It would be mind-boggling. And that brings us to the challenges, the potential downsides of this intelligence explosion.
Right, because with great power comes great responsibility, or however that saying goes.
Yeah, Aschenbrenner is very clear that this is not all sunshine and roses.
Yeah, with power, like that, there have to be some serious risks involved. We can't just ignore the potential dangers.
Absolutely. And Aschenbrenner highlights 3 key challenges that we absolutely must address: security, superalignment, and global leadership. Let's start with security.
Okay, so if we're talking about AI that can potentially become much smarter than humans, we need to make sure it doesn't fall into the wrong hands.
Right.
That seems pretty obvious.
It is. But the scary part is that Aschenbrenner believes current security practices in many AI labs are woefully inadequate.
Really?
He uses this stark analogy comparing it to handing the blueprints for superintelligence to our adversaries.
That's a chilling thought.
Right.
So what needs to change? What kind of security measures would we need to put in place to contain something this powerful?
We're talking about a whole new level of security. Think about the measures we take to protect our most sensitive national secrets. That's the kind of rigor we need to apply to AI research.
Okay.
Strict access controls, robust cybersecurity measures, and a culture of vigilance within AI labs.
So it sounds like we can't rely on the open and collaborative approach that has driven much of AI development so far.
Right.
This would require a much more controlled environment.
Unfortunately, yes. As much as we've benefited from open source collaboration in AI, the risks associated with superintelligence are simply too great to ignore.
Okay, I'm starting to see how serious this is.
Yeah.
But what about superalignment? That's another term that Aschenbrenner uses that I'm not sure I fully understand.
Superalignment is all about making sure that these superintelligent AI systems remain aligned with our goals, our values, and our ethics.
Okay.
It's about making sure they don't go rogue and act in ways that could harm humanity.
Okay, that's where things get really scary for me. I mean, how do you control something that's potentially much smarter than you?
It's a daunting challenge, no doubt about it. Right now, we use techniques like RLHF to guide AI's behavior and align it with our expectations.
Right.
But as AI becomes more intelligent, those techniques might not be enough.
So we need to develop entirely new approaches to controlling superintelligence.
Right.
Something that can keep pace with its rapidly evolving capabilities.
Exactly. And that's why this issue of superalignment is so critical. We need to start working on it now before it's too late.
Before we move on to the final challenge, global leadership, I want to take a moment to thank everyone listening.
Yes.
We appreciate you joining us on this deep dive into the world of AGI. If you're finding this conversation as mind-blowing as we are, be sure to subscribe to the channel for more fascinating explorations of crucial topics.
Yes. Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
Now let's delve into this last challenge: global leadership. Aschenbrenner argues that the United States must take a leading role in the race to AGI,
Okay.
not just for economic or military advantage,
Right.
but to ensure that this technology is developed responsibly and ethically.
It sounds like he's drawing a parallel to the Cold War,
Yeah.
where the stakes were incredibly high and global leadership was essential for avoiding disaster.
That's a very apt comparison. Aschenbrenner believes that superintelligence will give a significant advantage to whichever nation develops it first.
Uh-huh.
It's not just about military power, but economic dominance and technological advancement.
Right.
The stakes are incredibly high.
So it's not just about who gets there first, but about making sure that whoever does is a responsible actor who will use this incredible power for good.
Exactly. And that's why Aschenbrenner is concerned that if the United States doesn't maintain its leadership position,
Yeah.
other nations, perhaps with less benevolent intentions, could win this race to AGI. We need to stay ahead of the curve, not just technologically, but ethically.
This is a lot to process, but I have a feeling it's just the tip of the iceberg.
You're absolutely right. But thankfully, Aschenbrenner doesn't just outline the challenges.
Oh.
He offers a potential solution.
Okay.
And that's what we'll be discussing in the next part of our deep dive.
Oh boy.
Stay tuned.
Welcome back to the deep dive.
Oh.
So we've covered a lot of ground already, from the rapid progress in AI to the mind-blowing concept of the intelligence explosion and the very real challenges of security, superalignment, and global leadership. I feel like my brain is about to explode.
It's a lot to take in, but we're not just going to leave you hanging with a bunch of terrifying what-ifs. Thankfully, Aschenbrenner offers a potential solution. In his document, he calls it the project.
Okay, I'm all ears. Tell me about the project.
Okay.
What is it, and why does Aschenbrenner think it's the answer?
Well, he believes that a government-led initiative is the only way to safely and responsibly develop superintelligence.
Mm-hmm.
He compares it to the Manhattan Project,
Okay.
which brought together the best minds to develop the atomic bomb during World War II. It would require that kind of focused, coordinated effort.
Wow. So we're talking about a massive coordinated effort involving top AI labs,
Yeah.
cloud providers, government agencies,
Yeah.
whole shebang.
Exactly. The goal would be to pool resources, expertise, and computing power to develop and control superintelligence in a way that benefits humanity while mitigating the risks. We can't just leave something this powerful to chance.
I can see why he'd make that argument. But why does he think private companies are up to the task? I mean, they're the ones driving most of the AI innovation right now.
Right. Aschenbrenner acknowledges that private companies are incredible innovators. But he argues they're not equipped to handle the security and safety challenges of something as powerful as superintelligence. Remember those lax security practices we talked about earlier?
Yeah, the whole handing over the blueprints analogy.
Mm-hmm.
Not exactly a comforting thought.
Precisely. And then there's the issue of control. Do we really want the fate of humanity to rest in the hands of a few private companies?
That's a tough one. I mean, governments haven't always been the best at handling powerful technologies either.
That's a fair point. But Aschenbrenner believes that the national security implications of superintelligence are just too enormous to ignore.
Okay.
A centralized government-led effort would ensure a clear chain of command, robust security protocols, and a focus on the greater good rather than just the bottom line.
So if the project were to happen, what would it actually look like? Paint me a picture.
Okay, imagine the government recognizing the magnitude of the situation, creating a dedicated agency or task force solely focused on AGI development. This agency would have the authority and resources to coordinate research efforts across the country, enforce strict security measures, and set clear ethical guidelines for AI development.
So like a super secret AI headquarters somewhere in the desert, filled with the brightest minds in the field, working around the clock under the highest levels of security.
You're getting the idea. And remember those trillion-dollar computer clusters we talked about?
Yeah.
Aschenbrenner predicts the project would likely need to build its own dedicated infrastructure to support this kind of research. We're talking about a massive undertaking on a scale that only a government could manage.
It's a bold idea, that's for sure. But what about the rest of the world? Would they just sit back and watch as the U.S. takes the lead?
Aschenbrenner believes international cooperation would be essential to the project's success. He envisions the United States working with its allies to establish a global non-proliferation regime,
Okay.
similar to what we have for nuclear weapons.
Trying to prevent other nations, especially those with less than noble intentions, from developing their own superintelligence. But how do you enforce something like that when technology is evolving so rapidly?
It won't be easy, that's for sure. But Aschenbrenner believes a combination of diplomatic pressure, Economic incentives and technological safeguards could help to slow the spread of superintelligence and give us more time to figure out how to manage it responsibly.
It sounds like we're talking about a race against time, not just to develop superintelligence, but to ensure that it's used for good.
That's exactly right. Aschenbrenner stresses that the next few years will be decisive. The choices we make today will have profound consequences for the future of humanity.
Okay, so let's recap what we've learned from our deep dive into Aschenbrenner's situational awareness. First, AGI is closer than most people realize. Second, while the potential benefits are huge, the risks are just as significant. You have to get this right.
Absolutely. And to get it right, we need to take these challenges seriously. Security superalignment and global leadership are not just buzzwords. They're essential ingredients for navigating this intelligence explosion successfully.
And Aschenbrenner believes that a government-led initiative, the project, might be inevitable given the magnitude of what we're facing.
It's a sobering thought, isn't it?
It is.
But it's also a call to action. We need to start having these conversations now while there's still time to shape the future.
Aschenbrenner paints a picture of a world on the brink of transformative change, and he doesn't sugarcoat the challenges or the potential consequences.
It's a wake-up call for sure.
It really is. So thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of AGI. Be sure to subscribe to the channel for more, and until next time, keep thinking deeply.
Thanks for listening.